Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Emily, and today we're talking about the baby names that I love but I'm not using now that my husband and I have decided on name for baby number 2. I'm having my second boy, and if you are having a boy, first things first, good luck choosing a name. I struggled so much with my first, and when I found out that I was having another one, I was like, oh my gosh, like how am I gonna decide on another baby boy name? The first one took forever. I don't envy you. I'm so glad that we finally decided on a baby name. Girl names just feel so much easier. And your issue is more like, which one do I pick from? Like, I have so many that I love. Which one feels like this baby? And for me, sorting through boy names felt like I don't like any of these. Our criteria is classic. My husband's English and our last name is Bourne. Our family unit has kind of a specific vibe. And so now that we're adding in a fourth name, I want it to match, and we finally found our match. And I have great news. I have more boy names on this list than I do girl names. And usually I feel like it's totally the opposite. People have like 25 girl names and 5 boy names that they just throw on to appease us boy moms. And we're gonna jump right in with boy names. Like I said, I've got a lot. Leonard, Lane, and Lawrence. I think Leonard with the nickname Leo is adorable. It feels very extroverted, fun, kind of like a party guy. I feel like that's a first child name. Like an oldest son is a Leo. Lane, middle child. Lawrence with Lori as a nickname. Isn't that so cute? I got that from somebody else, and I think it's popular right now on these exact lists, like baby names that I love but I'm not using. My husband actually loved it. I think that's his number one pick. If my input wasn't anything, I think this baby would be called Lawrence. And just a note on that one, I like it spelled with a U and not a W because I think it looks better when you write it out. Like it, especially in cursive, it feels very like loopy with the A and then the U and the R. It's hard to write W's in cursive, and so like if you're thinking signature for your child, I would do Lawrence with a U, not a W. Ivor, Connell, and Paul are the next names. I totally stole Connell from Normal People. I think it's so nice sounding. Again, it would make a beautiful signature. Ivor and Paul are like really short and stately. Ivor feels a little bit too Scandinavian for my family personally. The next 2 names, I was writing these down, like my husband and I were kind of spitballing ideas, and I was writing these down and I came up with the first one, and then I immediately came up with the second one, and I was like, oh, I love both of these names, but they sound really familiar. And then we realized that Harry and William are members of the royal family, and so that's why they sounded so crazy familiar. Love the nickname Will. I have a cousin named William, and it goes really nicely with our last name. The next 2 names feel like, one is literally from Winnie the Pooh universe, and the other one feels like it could be Christopher and Wyndham. I think Wyndham with the nickname Win is so precious. And then same with Christopher, I love the nickname Kit. And like, obviously Winnie the Pooh is giving Winnie, Win, Christopher, Kit. It all just feels very like fairy tale storybook. A little bit English, but more like cottagecore countryside English. Overall, really classic. The next name was probably my second top contender for baby number 2. It has been a top contender for my first and now my second, and it is Ellis. So good. It is so cool. I met someone named Ellis when I was 18. He ran this really nice shop in Seattle, and we kind of just got chatting, and I was like, you've got the coolest name ever. And it's just cemented in my brain as like this really cool guy name. It's effortless, it's short, it's punchy. You don't hear it very frequently. And I feel like the ELL is not something that you hear in boy names frequently. Like it's more like an ending versus a beginning. And so it feels really unique without anyone ever saying like, oh, your name is really unique. I would like to avoid my children having that experience of being told like, oh, you have a really unique name. I don't want that to be the first word that pops into someone's mind when they are meeting my children for the very first time or hearing about my children for the first time. They're unique because they're individual human beings. I don't need their names to show that off for them. Like they can show off themselves for themselves and make their unique presence on this earth known in a different way. I don't want them to feel drugged down by their name being so unique. It becomes like a fixed point about them. And I feel like Ellis just perfectly walks that line of like, you know how to spell it. You've heard it before, but like you can't think of someone that you know with that name. I think if we had a third boy, my husband and I would kind of fight between Lawrence and Ellis. A name that feels similar to Ellis for me is the name Jude. And I fully put this on my list after watching The Holiday for the first time. One drawback is that everybody associates the name Jude with the song Hey Jude. I would potentially be setting my child up to hear that song for the rest of their lives. The last three names that I have been on my list for a while. Henry and Matthew are probably the most popular names that I have on my list. I have loved Henry forever, and I totally understand why it's as popular as it is. It's classic, it's short, it feels cute, but not cutesy. Then Matthew is just a skosh too millennial, like it was too popular with millennials, especially I grew up Christian. I feel like a lot of millennial Christian guys were named Matthew, but that doesn't stop me from liking it, and I feel like it definitely fits in with the vibe of all of the other names that I like, and so I kept it on the list as inspiration for you. And the last name that I have for boys is Andrew, another one that I feel like was really popular with millennial boys and like even into Gen Z a little bit. I think it might still be a really popular name for boys. I put it on my list because when we were coming up with my first son's name, my husband wanted it to be an A name to carry on like a family tradition. My husband's dad is named Andrew, and we call him Andy, and I love that. I feel like the nickname Andy is a little bit unexpected. Obviously not that unexpected because it is like the direct nickname for Andrew, but I feel like it gives it that more English classic twist. But since it's my father-in-law's name and we see him all the time, personally, I don't want to be calling two people by the same name, especially as an Emily. I'm just a little bit scarred from having like 4 Emilys in my class and being confused every time someone said my name. We ended up writing it off. But again, I think it definitely fits the vibe of all of my other names, especially, again, Andy as a nickname. My grandmother-in-law, she knew what she was doing. She was cooking when she named my father-in-law Andrew. Next, we'll go over my girl name list. It's significantly shorter than my boy name list because I have always known what I would name my child if they were a girl. Every time I've gotten pregnant, I'm like, okay, if you're a girl, this is your name, like no questions asked. With boys, we've had to do so much more workshopping and deciding and going back and forth, which means my girl name list is way more concise, and I really feel like it's names that you don't hear frequently. So we'll jump right in. The first 4 give like ultimate cool girl. Like you meet this person and you're like, you are the coolest woman that I have ever met. And those 4 names are Ingrid, Sybil, Sigrid, and Imogen. As an Emily with a very open, flowy name, I always was so jealous of girls who had like punchy names that ended with a consonant. And I love that like hard I sound. Next, I have Edith and Marin. Marin is probably the most unique name that I have on this list because I can't think of anyone named Marin. Like I haven't heard it used ever. I like it spelled M-E-R-R-O-N. Again, so cool, so chic. Edith, I think the nickname Edie is super cute. If you want something that really has like a vintage charm and a more contemporary nickname, Edith, Edie, sweet spot. In a similar vein to Edith, for E-names, I really like Esther as well. And then tangentially from Esther, I also really love the name Ruth. With Wyndham, I love the idea of the nickname Win. I also love that nickname for a girl, Win or Winnie, with the full name Winifred. That is probably the most fairy tale whimsical girl name that I have on the list. It just feels very ethereal. Yeah. Sorry, we're doing some dog watching from the window. But Winifred, and then call her Win or Winnie. Super, super cute. I think that it feels like a youngest daughter name. Like if you had 4 girls, Winifred would be the youngest. Just very carefree and sweet. Then my last 2 girl names, one I've had on the list forever, and the other one I heard so recently, and I was starstruck with how cool it was. that I added it onto my list immediately. I was watching a TikTok and this woman's name is Francesca, but her dad calls her Freddie. And my brain just never thought about that before. I was like, you are automatically, officially, as of right this second, the coolest person on planet Earth. If I in person met a girl and her name was Francesca, I'd be like, that's a cool name. But then if I hear somebody call her Freddie, I'm like, oh, you're a level of cool that I have never personally experienced for myself and must only exclusively experience through people that are cooler than me. And the similar name that I've had on my list forever is Frances. I think it's very chic for a girl. It definitely has like oldest sister, eldest daughter vibes. It feels so specific. Like a name you would have on your list forever, but you would have to make eye contact with your child before you committed to it, because not just anyone can be named Frances. You have to be an it girl, and you have to, from one woman to another, like make eye contact with each other to ensure that that's the correct direction to go. I kind of feel similarly with Winifred. Like it's so sweet and ethereal. Like you want to see your child's face to ensure that you're bestowing such a specific name onto the right person. So that's the full list of all the names on my baby name list. I have a very specific vision for the way that our family's names go together, as you can probably tell. So we're really specific at the end of the day, like anyone would be. Please let me know if any of your children have these names or if any of these are on your own list. I feel like I don't hear a lot of these very often when I'm watching baby name videos, probably because they're just a little bit too traditional, too classic, but I know there are people like me looking for these comprehensive lists that you can just slap your last name next to and start getting some inspo. So definitely let me know. Let me know if you added any of these onto your own lists. And like, comment, subscribe, you know, all the things that you do with the YouTube channel. And thanks for being here. I'll talk to you later. Bye.